Released in 2009, S.T.A.L.K.E.R Call of Pripyat was the third and final game of the original S.T.A.L.K.E.R trilogy. So, why am I talking about the final entry of the series and not starting at the beginning? Well, it's because Call of Pripyat has not achieved the cult classic status of Shadow of Chernobyl, but it is still the favorite of almost half the S.T.A.L.K.E.R fan, while Clear Sky is pretty disliked.
Wow. The core gameplay is horribly flawed and just ultimately not very enjoyable. Trying to force your way through this game is like having a tooth pulled through your asshole.
It's not as bad as people say it is. Call of Pripyat is the least buggy and definitely the most functional of the S.T.A.L.K.E.R games out of the box. It is a departure from Clear Sky, being less focused on faction wars and constant firefight, but it's not really like Shadow of Chernobyl either. The changes in the formula makes it a pretty different experience from either of those. I have not used any mods in this playthrough, and I know that many of my issues could be fixed with the mods present for the game, but that's a pretty different experience. So the game takes place after the events of Shadow of Chernobyl, and the zone is noticeably less hostile than before. Anywhere that doesn't instantly kill people is a place for people to inhabit. So the zone is now pretty well populated. But it's still the zone. At any time there can be an emission. The zone releases its energy violently, making it seem like the world itself is ending, burning the minds of anyone unfortunate enough to be caught in the open. Animals and humans warped by the zone now roam around in large numbers in every corner of this place. And they are dangerous. You can be slashed to death by snark, torn apart alive by a group of blind dogs, or get killed by a metal box to your dome by a telekinetic poltergeist. If you need to step into the territory of these mutants, be sure you have the knowledge and firepower to take them down. And then there's anomalies. Walk around carelessly in the zone and it will make sure no one finds a piece of you ever again. But the most unpredictable danger in the zone are the other stalkers. Everyone is at first friendly or at least non-hostile, just waiting for you to choose your allegiances. There are stalkers roaming about looking for artifacts that might fetch a good price in the black market. Stalkers just exploring and uncovering classified info. Stalkers joining bandit groups to loot people. Stalkers selling weapons, armors and ammunition. There's a whole economy now. People aren't scrounging and scavenging to survive, but there's also more than a few stalkers waiting to get their hands on your belongings. This is the current condition of the zone, and this is where Major S.T.A.L.K.E.R comes in, an undercover military officer of the SBU sent to the zone to find out why 5 military helicopters have crashed while flying over this place. The parts of the zone in this game are rather colorless most of the time, eternally grey and gloomy, rainy and wet, even more so due to the fact that you start off in a swamp. In the zone, it rains even when the sun's out. Being real, Call of Pripyat is kind of dull and ugly looking. This game is old, 15 years old in fact, and looks old even for its time. It goes for a realistic art style, but the lack of detail in much of the environments of the game, the bland lighting in almost all parts of the map, makes it look like the visual equivalent to unseasoned chicken breast. It's just such an insane downgrade from Clear Sky. Even something praiseworthy like the great draw distance, where you can see across the swamp, there is the ever-present and annoying grass popping. Like, look at this shit. The grass pops in and out of existence like a gambler asking for money from his family. This won't be a huge problem if the atmosphere of the game was as good as Shadow of Chernobyl. But it's just not. There's a distinct lack of loneliness in this game that made the S.T.A.L.K.E.R experience so memorable before. Even with the dangers of the zone I mentioned in the intro, the zone is no longer that empty or hostile. There are gameplay reasons for this, which I will come back to later. Not all of the game is equally visually uninteresting. The anomalous zones in the game are always a visual treat. The threats are clear at one look, and the strange way everything forms in the zone makes them memorable. These always have a sense of alien weirdness. It feels off, like this shouldn't be here. And the different mutants inhabiting the zone are also uniquely designed and well animated. The rabbit pseudo-dogs to the bloodsuckers stolen right out of Lovecraft literature to the large hulking nocturnal predators that are the Chimera. The zone has a presence that is hard to explain. It's like a living thing, always listening and shifting. The in-game music feels like you're exploring something, an adventure through mysterious territory where anything can happen. The music is often broken up by the sounds of animals, dogs barking and crows cawing. Sometimes you can even hear low whispers of people, with the dogs, crows or the humans nowhere to be found as the wind carries these sounds from who knows where. Maybe scarier yet is the spine-chilling sound of a growling mutant which has located you and is charging towards you. This is the zone we have to explore to find out what happened to the military helicopters. But we aren't thrown to the pseudo-dogs as the saying goes. We start off with an assault rifle, some ammo and a suit. Gameplay-wise, the vast majority of the game follows a pretty simple pattern. Call of Pripyat is a standard RPG in many ways. You have a base like Skadovs in the starting area of Zatan. You talk to people who give you quests and you explore the surrounding area to do this quest. There are a lot of simple fetch quests to do, go there, bring that, get cash. But a lot of the quests in the game are much more involved. There can be a long quest line with multiple twists and turns, where a simple mutant hunt can turn into something weirder. A search for a stalker that takes you across multiple zones. And while the game will use quest markers to point you to the right direction, you need to keep in mind every choice you make and follow quest updates closely. There are several different factions in this one, and so it's easy to fuck up a quest chain early on. There are factions perpetually in conflict with each other, sometimes openly like duty and freedom with the polar opposite views on the zone, sometimes a bit more subtly like the bandits and free stalkers, which means picking a side can make others your permanent enemies. The quests are a highlight of this game. Even seemingly small quests can come back later to help you in the main quest. Helping Wano talk to the bandit leader lets you another ally on a treacherous journey far ahead in the future, which he can only make if you help ecologist in Yanov. These lengthy quest chains over multiple areas, factions in almost every part of the map, and the way these are connected to one another in surprising ways makes this the most engaging part of the game for me. But whatever quests you may do, you need to get out into the treacherous zone to do them, leaving the safety of the stalker camp behind. And the zone will make sacrifices out of the underprepared and unwary. Even running around like a dumbass can get you killed. But for those who can navigate the zone well, rare artifacts await, and the reward is the high prices they fetch. Artifacts are things with special powers that form when the anomaly interacts with different objects under certain conditions, which means artifact hunting is a deadly profession. Early on, the only things you have to know if you are walking into an anomaly in these zones are the sight, sounds, and your trusty bolts. One wrong step and you can be grilled by fire anomalies, crushed into a fine powder by gravity anomalies, meet a shocking end to the electrical anomalies, or die in dozens of different ways. The way to survive is to go through these places slowly and carefully, holding an artifact detector in one hand so that they actually show up for you. I do have an issue with the progression of these detectors though. I didn't mind them in clear sky, but the Svarog detector you can find in mid-game shows you exactly where the artifacts are, where the anomalies are, and makes the whole thing piss easy. So now instead of being a dangerous adventure, it's a job you do for money. One thing that does not stop being dangerous, however, is facing enemies. Mutants in particular can kill you in seconds. Even the puny ones like the rodents will end you if you are complacent. And the larger ones like the chimeras, you can die even if you are prepared and careful. Even with good equipment, a pack of dogs can maul you to death. The mutants don't come at you in a straight line. They try to ambush you, run in unpredictable zigzag patterns, or just run away to find a better angle to attack from. And that is if they use ordinary attacks against you. It's one thing to fight mutant boars, and a whole other thing to fight this. Enemy stalkers can be equally dangerous. A few bullets is enough to take you down, and if it hits your head, it's over quicker than it started. Firefights are an easy way to die. Bullets kill quickly, and if you aren't paying attention, you will die before you can locate the barrel of the gun that shot you. Some of the enemy stalkers are heavily armored, and the mutants can take a lot of punishment, so the early game pea shooters won't help you much. And a flimsy ass suit definitely won't help you when an enemy bullet decides to do a little health inspection on your ass. So you need good equipment. And well, in Call of Pripyat, you don't need to scavenge for supplies anymore. You can repair your weapons and armor again like clear sky, which means you can always use the best weapons you have, best armor you have. The random weapons you pick up now aren't really more important than having some pricey junk to sell. The best weapons are often the ones you can buy. Same goes for the armor. I never really found a weapon that was better than the one I was using. In fact, changing weapons is discouraged by the fact that to get the best use out of these weapons, you have to upgrade them. This system has its positive, but I find it boring compared to the scavenger economy of Shadow of Chernobyl. It's just really tedious in some cases. Fight, bring back your guns and armor that start breaking down every hour like they're in a soap opera. But in general, I really do like the gameplay of Call of Pripyat. Exploring the zone is fun. Bringing with me heaps of ammunition and my weapons everywhere I go to deal with anything that comes up, moving around the map doing quests. The zone is full of surprises, and coming across phenomena that are more esoteric in nature is part of what made a lot of the time spent in the game so memorable. Sequences like finding the oasis. Also, Call of Pripyat has excellent gunplay, so when I actually came across mutants or hostile stalkers, I am happy to use my guns. They sound loud and punchy, and firefights are generally tense but satisfying event. The variety of weapons in the game made it really useful to carry around multiple kinds of guns. For much of the game, I carried an assault rifle, a shotgun, and a sniper rifle at the same time, because I found it useful to have different weapons to use at different ranges. Now, being a walking armory may not be an efficient way to travel across the wasteland, but what do I care when it's this much fun to do that? The guns being fun to use while simultaneously having varied handling, recoil, slackness made it worthwhile to upgrade, increasing the accuracy, decreasing weight, adding a scope. A ton could be done with these weapons, which meant even a partially upgraded firearm was a different beast from an unupgraded one. Same goes for armor. Armors have different resistances to psi attacks, heat, electricity, impact negation, etc. But most importantly, some of them have pockets to use artifacts. Artifacts that emit radiation often have weird benefits. Energy recovery so that you can sprint in quicker intervals, more health, higher resistances, carry weight, and handy little bonuses here and there. And there are even artifacts that reduce radiation. So you can use any artifacts and just keep another radiation lowering artifact on you. And while all this is fun, I do have a problem with the game structure. There's so many missions where I have someone else with me, which really just makes the experience less scary and sometimes less engaging. It's fine to have missions be like that once in a while, but a solid chunks of the missions are like this. The stilted voice acting, poor character animation, and just uninteresting dialogue for most of these characters in the mission makes them not that fun to have around. There aren't really many large solo underground or lab missions in this game, or many solo missions in general. In terms of solo exploration, only the Jupiter plant is of note. The one large underground mission, take a group we recruit underground and get to Pripyat, is the most memorable part of the game for me. So at this point, I generally talk about the story, but I have so little to say that for this game, it will turn into a meaningless plot recap. It's just one of the things that exists. The characters are bland, the presentation is bland, and the story has no depth or breadth or any dimension. The premise is interesting, but it's handled in such a boring way that I can't find the energy to even write about it. So I will make my statement. I will just not talk about it. The story is short and the main missions won't take long, and I have nothing to add about them. But the side missions and the factions do have some really interesting lore behind them which you can uncover, and some great characters as well, like Kardan back in Zaton.
Here's to a good day's work.
So, STALKER Call of Pripyat, the third and most polished game of the original Stalker trilogy, is the most streamlined of the game, but that comes with both positives and negatives. For me, this game does not have the higher highs of the series, nor does it have the lowest lows. In some ways, that makes this game the easiest Stalker to get into. It's a fun sandbox to explore, and if you want that, this is the game for you. But I have always preferred the jankier and more ambitious experiments.